I was looking at the schedule earlier today, and I got like 50 million games on the board, but I was drilling it down. If I just applied my own personal interests as a filter, which games am I personally just the most excited about seeing? I put 10 of them on the sheet tonight. I could go like 50 deep on this. Ohio State at Michigan, even though it's the very end of the year, I don't know how you start anywhere other than that. We're talking about a streak now, especially the latter stage of that streak last year, that defies all explanation. I went back and watched that game over the weekend. And knowing the ending, it's even more baffling. Just amazing. And so they go to Ann Arbor this year, and they're replacing a lot of pieces. And we've seen them favored by a little. We've seen them favored by a lot, but they've gone over for several years against Michigan now. And so I think about the puckering effect. There's the puckering effect, and how much more puckering you have the closer and closer that game gets here. We've learned that the age-old adage, you throw the records out the window, actually does apply in this game. So I'm looking forward to that one. Much earlier in the year, so I'll reel it all the way back into week 5. I think it's the biggest rivalry in the SEC, has been for several years right now, or the most important rivalry in the SEC. That is Alabama-Georgia. They played last year in Tuscaloosa. Bama goes to Georgia in week 5. That one's way up there on the excitement scale. I think the story between those two brands, I mean, they're going head-to-head in recruiting. They do every year. There's like sort of a Cold War hostility between one and the other. They're not historic rivals. It's not like Bama-Auburn. It's not like Georgia-Florida. But the Mark Richt thing, and then the Nick Saban coming in and supplanting Georgia, and then Georgia taking Kirby Smart, and then those two just going head-to-head, and Saban gets the better of him most of the time, but then Kirby tops Nick Saban to win the national championship, and all the while, you got Georgia measuring themselves against Alabama, and the fan bases border each other. It's just, I grew up on the banks of the Chattahoochee River, and so I have very unique perspective in the dynamic between Alabama and Georgia. And Alabama, when's the last time they went to Athens? Like 10 years ago, basically. That one's going to be a really good one. The same day as that happens, in fact, the same hour that game happens, we'll have Oregon versus Penn State. It's one of the trade-offs of this sport. It's one of the trade-offs of getting a Penn State big game finally in whiteout primetime, is it was going to overlap with another big game. That's okay. We have dealt with this before. We do have the means of technology at our disposal. Hey, Dan Lanning and Oregon replacing a lot as well. And they go into Happy Valley pretty early in the year. And the book on James Franklin and Penn State has been what? Really good in a lot of areas, not elite. And part of the beef that even the home fans have there is we got to beat big teams. Well, here's your first shot. You really have 2 of those shots this year. James Franklin's got to take every game seriously, but as far as people who just get to sit in the stands or they get to talk in the microphone, you're looking at Oregon on September 27th. You're looking at Ohio State November 1st. It's not that other folks can't beat you, but those are the 2 opponents you'll be measured against. Can you go 1-2 against them this year? That's their really good shot against Oregon on September 27th. And I cannot wait to just look at that atmosphere. It's one of those games where it's nice to have audio, but it doesn't matter if you have that one on mute. Penn State whiteouts are the kind of game where even if the TV's on mute, you can still hear it. I'm dressed for it already. I can't wait for it. What about week 1? I didn't forget about week 1. LSU goes to Clemson in week 1. LSU has had this ridiculous stretch of not being able to win in week 1. Now, I credit them because they could dial up a cupcake and get themselves a W right now if they needed to, but they keep scheduling up in week 1. That's the good part. The bad part is you got to win one of these things eventually. And this is not neutral site. God bless them for it. It's not neutral site. So they're going into Clemson. And, I mean, I'm going to talk about this later in the show, but you think about how big that week is for LSU. Well, I also think about how big it is for Clemson and to somewhat lesser but still relative extent, the ACC. I mean, that matters way on down the road, but the whole proven commodity thing at quarterback. We talked about Klubnik a little while ago, We talked about Drew Aller a little while ago. Garrett Nussmeier's in that category too. So, I mean, we get 2 of the most proven commodities at quarterback facing off against each other, if you want to put it that way, in week one. They're never on the field at the same time. But you also, I mean, think about how bad Brian Kelly needs this one. Think about the impact if Clemson goes in there and wins that thing. And the loser of that game is not out of anything, because you can lose 2 or 3 games and make the playoff, but just the immediate pressure cooker that you're under. Because they're going to have sky-high expectations at both places, and someone's got to lose in week one. And then, of course, you ask, well, what was the margin? 3-point game? Not a big deal. Is someone losing by 17? That's a little bit different. The number 5 game I have is in week 6, and not many people are talking about this game. It's got game of the year potential written all over it. It's got atmosphere of the year potential written all over it. Texas at Florida. I'm telling you, Texas at Florida has the makings of a great one that no one's really talking about. It's not a traditional rivalry. Texas blew a DJ Lagway-less Florida out last year, so it's not really on many people's radars. But I was in Austin a couple of months ago. I promise you it's on their radar. I promise you. And no one's taking it for granted. No one's taking that trip lightly in Austin, but I think the college football public is. Florida will have already been tested several times by the time this one rolls around. Texas will have already gone to Ohio State, and so this is the second really, really tough road game for them. But think about the fact that this is either going to be mid-afternoon or a night kickoff. I'd put my money on a primetime kickoff. Florida is not a bigger conversation piece in the national championship picture, mainly because of their schedule. But the thing about a schedule is you don't play a schedule any given week. You play one opponent on that schedule. And that's kind of the way you got to tackle that psychologically. Texas going in there, you think about Florida just being up 10-0, late first quarter. Going into the second quarter, it's 10-3. I mean, think about what the Swamp could sound like. I am waiting for the Swamp to sort of be reintroduced on the national scene. A lot of people, when we did our toughest places to play list last week, they said, hey, if Florida's elite, the Swamp should be number 1. Well, you know what? I don't disagree with that. It's been a long time since Florida's been elite, so maybe that's this year. We turn the paper over here. Hey, quick timeout. Check and see if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you're not, I humbly ask that you click subscribe. It's free. It doesn't sign you up for anything. What it does is it helps us keep this show free so we can just do college football year-round. All right, back to the clip. Number 6. I struggled with where to place this one. But this also could be a game of the year. Texas Tech plays Arizona State this year. I don't really know. The odds market can say what it says. These are my 2 favorites in the conference this year. Texas Tech goes to Arizona State. Arizona State and Texas Tech, sort of a dichotomy in the way these rosters were put together. You got the Big 12 champ from a year ago. You got a program that is geared up to win one this year. I mean, they've gone all out in the portal to win one this year. Incredible time to be in Lubbock, but this game's in Tempe, and it's in week 8. It could be one of 2 times that they play each other this year. The odds to win the Big 12 championship have fluctuated a lot. You look on your screen right now, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really 6 teams with pretty comparable odds. So you got half a dozen teams that are kind of like a little accordion just packed together. Kansas State's 1, Utah, Texas Tech, Arizona State all have the same odds. If I'm running a sports book, it's Texas Tech, Arizona State, 1, 2 in any given order. But that one has instant classic written all over it. It's got game of the year atmosphere in the Big 12 written all over it. I was in Tempe for Brigham Young coming in there last year. Place is amazing. What about week 1? Just go back to week 1 for a second. I'm flying all around the map right now. Notre Dame goes to Miami in week 1. Notre Dame at Miami. What do we expect? Well, the whole thing about Carson Beck going to Miami is it's a good move for them and probably a good move for him as well, but he's coming off the injury, and you hear that he's throwing. I mean, Mario came on our show and gave us an update. He's throwing, and this is like a month ago. We expect him to be full go for week 1. Okay. Is he full go for week 1? And by that, I don't mean like, is he cleared medically? I mean, when we turn on this game, is Carson Beck 100% of himself against Notre Dame? Now, that's not all it takes to win. Then you got to have that Miami offensive line stand up. You got to have receivers catch the ball for him because he didn't necessarily have that all the time last year. Oh, and by the way, they got to be able to move the ball against a really, really good Notre Dame defense. And then on the other side, we're watching C.J. Carr, and we're watching a new Notre Dame quarterback there. We're also watching, hopefully, a Miami defense that's playing a lot better than it did last year with a new coordinator. Point is, there's a whole bunch of if, and there's a whole bunch of mystery and intrigue, and it's week 1. And I know a lot of you like to dog the atmosphere at Miami games. I bet you that one sold out. Last time Notre Dame went down there, go search that one on YouTube. You will not believe that's a Miami home game. And Miami smoked them, and it's just this little taste of what even Hard Rock Stadium can be on any given night, any given Saturday night, although I think this is a Sunday night game. But point stands there. If you get a winning team on the field, it helps if you have Notre Dame in town. So I'm looking forward to that one. Also in week 1, earlier in the day, the previous day, so Saturday at noon, famously, Texas at Ohio State. We may be at this game, for all I know. But Texas at Ohio State, I don't really need to hype a whole lot. They just met in the playoffs last year. They are in any odds market, FanDuel included, 2 of the favorites to win it all this year. They're the favorites in their respective conferences, and yet question marks all over the place. This is one where, if you're around a tailgate scene on the Saturday of a big game and you're interacting with the opposing fans, there are going to be a lot of Texas Longhorn fans in Columbus, Ohio for the first time. And so, they'll interact with the locals, and I guarantee you this will be said a whole lot. Hey, it'll be a good game either way. I don't know if it'll be a good game. Someone could lose this by 30. I don't know. There's so much variance and potential outcome here. If I simulated this game 100 times, do you realize how scatter-plotted the potential outcomes would be, relative to that LSU Clemson game? Like, I think most of the time that's a close game. I could see Texas or Ohio State winning this thing 27-10. Either one of them. I could see that, theoretically. And that's what makes it so intriguing. Love it. What about week 3? We haven't had a whole lot of ACC flavor. The ACC game I'm looking forward to most, maybe the whole year, is Clemson at Georgia Tech in week 3. Because, as you know, I'm very high on Georgia Tech. Clemson's going in there, and think about this. So this is only week 3. But Clemson's already played LSU. Not in a conference game, but they already played LSU. Now, if Clemson won that game, then everyone's hyping them up as a national championship contender, even more so than they already are. Georgia Tech's already played Colorado by now. And so we don't necessarily know what that'll look like. Georgia Tech will be a short favorite, I would imagine, in that game. But this right here is where if Georgia Tech's going to be a player, we may find out. Don't even necessarily need to beat Clemson. But, remember Georgia Tech last year? They beat Miami at home. They took Georgia to half a dozen overtimes. I wish that was a joke, but that's a real headline. They lost to Syracuse by 3. I think they lost a couple of games without Haynes King. I think that team was better last year than their record indicated. And I think they're a dark horse player for a playoff spot this year. So if I'm right about that, we will start to find out in that week 3 game. And then also a couple of teams I haven't mentioned yet, just to sort of round out this list, which is a list of my opinion. I want to stress this. This is not the opinion of any company at large. It is just, it's not the biggest playoff implication games. It's just the games that I'm personally looking at, and I've circled them. I'm looking forward to them. South Carolina at Ole Miss. That's just another game that's randomly thrown in the SEC slate. That's in week 10. All right, so last year we watched Ole Miss. Inexcusable that team didn't find a way to make it to the playoff. So now this year, a little bit more questions defensively. Austin Simmons, what's he going to be at quarterback? But that's in the preseason. This is by week 10. So we've hopefully figured that out. Well, what if he's really good? What if Lenora Sellers has wide receivers to throw to? What if the tailback room gets figured out there? What if those defensive departures didn't cripple South Carolina and they're going on the road and these are 2 contenders to go to the SEC championship game? What if they're fringe playoff contenders? I just think that one is a game. I also looked at OU, South Carolina, but that's a game in the interest of getting as many teams on here as possible that I also think could carry a lot of weight. So those are just 10 games out of the million or 2 million that I'm looking forward to this year.